We have the strongest sense of place of any state in the Union. We're a state that also has the strongest sense of private ownership and private property rights of any state in the Union. That's a sacred trust.
It's not something I can just decide that I'll no longer do. You know, I couldn't help but love you, even if I wanted to. It's an involuntary reflex of that, I have no doubt. You know that loving you is just like breathing in and breathing out.
Well, I used to know everybody and their cats and dogs around, but I'm a stranger right here on my own place. Everybody's moved in and all, and it's just a different world.
During the next big real estate boom, millions of people are going to want to move into the hill country. Hayes County, one of the 5 fastest growing counties in America. I mean, it's huge. The Austin-San Antonio I-35 corridor. Bernie is exploding with population. Bernie's not only Bernie. Fredericksburg, Hunt, Union, Johnson City, Stonewall. And those are going to be huge bedroom communities for San Antonio and Austin. I think unless we preserve part of that character of the hill country, people are going to quit coming here.
Save me, you know I need your help. You just might find that you've saved yourself. Save me.
Heritage of ranching is central to our identity as Texans.
We wouldn't drop dead in our tracks or anything if we lost the place, but it would leave a deep and painful scar for the rest of my life, for sure.
It would have been, a piece of your heart gone.
By helping traditional landowners stay on their property is not only the protection of open space, but the protection of the heritage itself.
So when we sit down and talk with landowners and they say, we want to keep this place together, we have got to figure out a way to do this. Well, I know right away we've got a great partner. If somebody starts the conversation not about money, and I'm fine talking about money, but if a family starts the conversation, we want to preserve this place. We want to somehow figure out a way to stay here, keep this together for our kids. Well then, bingo, that's going to work.
Well, I moved here when I was 7 years old, and my dad accumulated through the years to 4,000 acres.
My grandpa moved here in 1900, and I was born in 1925 right here on this place.
People who don't live in Texas don't realize the scenery we have all over Texas, but especially in the hill country. It's a different texture. I mean, it's a live oak, it's cedar, it's running streams.
But every time we went home and went through the gate, it was like coming into God's land.
This country, the thing that attracts people, and it attracted my dad, like everybody, was its beauty.
It is a gorgeous place to be, and people want to live in the hill country.
Texas is urbanizing faster than any other state in the Union. We lost over 1.5 million acres of rural and agricultural land in the 1990s alone.
Good ranchers are environmentalists or they're out of business.
Ranchers are, in fact, at the end of the day, perhaps the best stewards of the land. They really get it. They understand the value of water.
When I was a kid, in 1961, I worked on this ranch. Onion Creek never dried up.
When I was 5 years old, it seemed like every creek on the ranch was always full.
Where we're driving right now, when I was a kid, right here, you could always catch you a mess of fish.
But it wasn't until the 70s that we started to see periods that Onion Creek would run out of water.
Most of these creeks are spring fed, so if the aquifer drops, the spring flow that keeps these creeks running disappears.
Then we started getting into the 90s, and Onion Creek would be dry 50% of the time.
People keep punching holes in the aquifer and lowering the water table.
Today, Onion Creek runs 2 months out of the year.
That old Onion Creek used to run full the year round, but it's been bone dry all this past year.
If the aquifer dries flat up, then we'll have to start hauling water in. And when you start doing that, the land becomes worthless.
I think sometimes we over-romanticize the rancher's life in the hill country. In my mind, there's nothing romantic about it. It's hard work.
Ranching is hardscrabble. Just because somebody has inherited a big ranch doesn't mean they have any money. Mostly they don't.
And Henry looks at Ray, says, "How do you make a living on this place?" Dad looked at him and says, "I don't, I just live on what I make." And that's the way it was.
My dad's already tried it. My grandfather tried it. Today's world, ranches just don't work. People are having to drastically rethink the ranching industry. Most of today's world, the ranching industry is not a business.
Little by little, they came to realize that they just simply, with raising goats for mohair and raising a few cattle on the old family ranches, they weren't going to be able to hang on to them. It was finally work yourself to death and lose it to the tax man, or go ahead and sell it. Move into the city and at least survive. And unfortunately, that's the truth of how most of these folks came to sell their ranches.
I mean, there's just no money in cattle. So all the families are trying to figure out, are we going to grow lavender? Are we going to grow grapes? Are we going to have cell phone towers? Birding? Mountain biking? What are we going to do?
There are other values to open space besides water. We're the #1 hunting state, and virtually all of that activity occurs on private property. It's a huge source of income for us. Many landowners today are on their property because of income from hunting. It has a major impact on the economy, and it's a major source of recreation for us, and it's a part of our identity.
Between Dripping Springs and Cedar Valley, there used to be 4 ranches. There was a Will Crow Ranch, Frank Reeder Ranch, Sawyer Ranch, and the Willie Place. And now then you can mind your walk from housetop to housetop to get to Cedar Valley.
And developers are buying up both sides of the road on Brody Lane from Manchac to Slaughter. They're hunting out every little bit. That's terrifying. Every little bit of land.
No, I've been offered lots of money for this little old piece of land. But I always figure if it's worth that much to him, it's worth a little bit more to me. It's just not for sale. Come on up here. See that brand on them? That's that flying horseshoe.
Land it's the great pearl of great value. You just don't sell it.
There's nothing like getting up in the morning and selling a good horse and riding through your range. It's just nothing like it at all.
It's a heritage that you don't want to lose.
Just from walking out in the pasture and working on a fence, I see a spot where the wire's tied, where there's a special little loop in it. I see a couple of these around, on some of the old fences all over the place. And I know who did that little loop, and I know who that it sounds exactly like, and that'd be my grandfather.
I like the idea of people having access to nature this close to them.
The park access is being done because I think there's a great need to educate younger kids more than just classroom.
Today, 90% or more of our children are growing up in urban areas. So as a result, they spend up to 6 hours a day in front of one kind of electronic screen or another. We have the highest rates of childhood obesity in the United States here in Texas, and all of that is related to the estrangement of our children from the outdoors. If we can't find a way to introduce children to the outdoors, then they're the ones that are going to be missing out. And that's demonstrated in terms of impacts on their health, their well-being, and the outdoors itself.
You get attached to a piece of land because of the special things that have happened on the land that are a part of your life.
I'm here to stay, right here on this place regardless. I don't know how much longer that'll be, but I'm going to stay as long as I can.
The emotional attachment to a piece of land, there's nothing logical about it, but it's real.
have a great empathy for adults. I really think nature needs to be available to them for them to survive. No, they need something that slows them down and gives them peace. They need moments of peace in their life. And there's no greater place to find it than out of the land.
I'm standing at the crossroads. There are many roads to take, but I stand here so silently for fear of a mistake.
Well, the last 15 to 20 years has been a change. About the past 20 years is when it started turning around.
So I'm standing at the crossroads.
And there've been lots of buildings.
Imprisoned by this doubt.
I don't know where it's going to stop, but it's not good.
You're not going to stop them. People like money. My brother loved money more than the land. And you're not going to stop it. The landowners have to stop it. And hopefully there's some left. Around here, they've sold.
We're seeing lots of fragmentation in large ranches through estate inheritance tax problems and through divorces.
Finally, we were going to sell ourselves out of this place and wind up with a whole bunch of little parcels out here. This is an old story. I mean, this is the way it goes for ranchers now. Finally, we had to start looking around for some other way, some new idea, some source of income.
Techniques like conservation easements and the purchase of development rights enable us to create ways for landowners to protect their property for future generations.
If you really just want to hold on to your ranch and just keep doing what you're doing, there's just not a better idea in the world.
I'm really incredibly pleased. It's one of those beyond miracles.
Because I'll get into some arguments with people with regards to conservation easements that own ranches that don't make any money off their ranches. The one thing you have to understand is we took a ranch that didn't have much of a future and gave it a pretty amazing future, a chance to make money because of the conservation easement.
Basically, it's the only reason why we're still in one piece instead of a whole bunch of little fragments.
This is a very fast-growing world we're living in.
Well, the lights get closer and closer every year.
They keep buying, taking, ranching out. Somebody's going to get hungry sooner or later.
Having open space has a great deal to do with the value and the lifestyle of our area.
The highest compliment I think Hill Country Conservancy has ever gotten is after we finished the first part of the Storm Ranch, and Scott Storm, Lynn's son, said, "Yeah, George, you're saving our ranch, but you're saving our family."
They call it the Hill Country. I call
Hill Country Conservancy and its partners have conserved 40,000 acres in the Barton Springs Edwards Aquifer since 2000, protecting 15% of the aquifer region as open space forever.
What will we call it when it's leveled and paved?
Stay involved. Find your niche. There are many ways to be part of the preservation of the next 15,000 acres.